creative cutter friends. As you can see, we're going to continue with the St. Patrick's Day project that I've been working on. It is this clothespin that I've decorated with some of my metal flake vinyl, as you can see there. And just to finish off, I wasn't happy with the little white dots that I created here at the bottom, so I just added a couple of bling pieces there, just some little tiny gems to decorate that bottom portion. And I hope you'll notice that I did make those to match the rainbow. For this little attachment here off the end of the rainbow, what I did was punch out 3 pieces of the gold vinyl with just a small tiny circle punch, and once I punched those out, I just layered them on top of each other and used my gold stickles again to make it look more like gold coins. There is a little teeny tiny wire there, and I don't know if you can see that I used to hang that from the rainbow. What I used was 24 gauge gold wire. The higher the gauge, the more flexible or softer the wire is. So I did use a really flexible wire to attach that with the same technique that I used on this heavier gauge wire here at the top. So what we're going to work on is making a third one of these little springs here, and then I'll attach it and show you what we're going to put on that. So to start off with, I have this black wire, and I believe I picked this up at a Tuesday morning. It did not have the gauge on it, but as you can see, it's really hard and stiff, and I believe it's about a 20 gauge. So I'm going to cut off about 10 inches of this. I'm just going to use my mat here and use my We Are clips here to cut that. And then to make the springs, what you want to do is just take a dowel, and I don't know what thickness this is, I apologize. I think it's about a 1-inch dowel. And then I'm just going to hold one end down and start wrapping. Now you can do this whatever way you want. I probably should have started closer to the bottom end here, but I'm just going to wrap that around. And when I get closer, whoops, let me stay in frame here. When I get closer to the bottom, I'm going to kind of squish those together. Now if you have an end that pokes out like that, you can just take your hammer and help that smash down. I'm just going to use my pliers here. Take those ends down. Okay. So once you've done that, you're just going to slide the spring off your dowel, and you'll see you've got that really nice coil. Put some white there. You've got that really nice coil, and I'm going to take the top end, and I'm just going to use my pliers here to open up that top end so it makes a loop like that. Okay, and if I flip that upside down and take the bottom end and do the same thing, you'll notice that it opens up in an opposite direction. So it'll look something like that. Let me get my hands out of the way here. It'll look something like that. Okay, so from that point, you're just going to stretch this to whatever height will work for your project. You want the end with the loop on the sort of back end to be glued to that back of the clip, and then the top end facing forward you're going to have towards the top. Now these are all going to be kind of different height projects, so you can just kind of move those around how you want. I'm going to get my hot glue here. Just put a little puddle of hot glue there on the back, and then hope that's zooming in okay for you, and then just attach the clip there. If you want to add a little pressure, of course, don't use your fingers. I'm going to use my pliers to make sure it sinks into that puddle there, and I'll clean up the stringies later. But you now have your 3 springs coming off the top of that. So I just leave that, give that a second to dry, and it should be on there pretty solid. Okay. So I'm going to set that aside for a minute so it can dry, and then we're going to talk about the pieces that are going to go across it. So what I did with the green holographic vinyl is I cut out a couple of different sizes to give myself some options, and I happen to like this larger size, and then you'll see that black edge around there is just some of this Ranger enamel accents, and it makes it kind of bright and shiny. I just wanted a nice outline, and I wanted to tie into the pot of gold, so I put that around the edge. Now I did not remove this vinyl from its white backing, but I did remove the white backing off of a smaller clover, and I also removed the stem. And that's so when I attach it to the clip, and I hope I can do this. Okay, so when I attach it to the clip, that extra piece of vinyl is going to be what kind of glues it, sandwiches it there onto the wire. So when you look at the front of that, you have, oops, there you go, we'll zoom in. You have that clover hanging off of the top loop. Okay, so I now have my clover over the first portion of that spring. For the middle portion, I made this cute little leprechaun from that Simply, oops, there he goes, from that Simply Charmed cartridge, and you can see he's pretty small. He's about 3 inches, and I did use more of that glittery vinyl to make him. I did make a second portion so that I could glue the top half, and I hope my camera will zoom in here, glue the top portion, but I left the bottom portion there with a gap. Give that a second to zoom in. I left a gap there so that the spring could slide in between there, and I hate to do this to the poor guy, but I'm going to slide that onto his pants, and he sits onto the spring just like that. So you now have a clover on that end and my little leprechaun glued at it. Now you can put a dab of hot glue or a glue dot there to make sure that he doesn't fall off. He's supposed to be kicking up his heels, so I'm just going to put him up a little bit sideways there. And for the third piece, I made this horseshoe here. So this is just from 3 Birds on Parade, and I did use my gypsy to remove the little circles that would have been a contour line here around the center, and I'm going to just add those back in probably with some glitter. And I did a backing piece in black just so that I could sandwich that around the little spring that I made. So I'm going to add some glue here just again on the top half, so you can see me do that. And I will layer those on together. So this idea would be great for pretty much any holiday, because you could paint the clip for whatever holiday you want to highlight, make your springs. I know that this wire comes in various colors, so you can make the wires match your project. And I'm just going to offset that a little bit so you can just barely see the black. And then since I did not glue the bottom, the spring should slide in there in between those 2 pieces of paper. So let's just do that. And then again, you could use a Simply Charmed cartridge. Designer cartridge is another great one to have shapes for every holiday, and just create a cute home decor piece for your desk. So that's the top of my spring. Let's see if I can get the entire thing in camera here for you so you can get the effect of what that will look like. I might have to back out here. There we go. Okay, I'll take a better picture of it and post that on my website so you get a better feel for what that looks like completed. But I hope that you like my St. Patrick's Day home decor project. The final step on this, and I'll just show you real quick, is I did print out on my computer this, of course, very Irish saying. I don't know if my camera's going to zoom on that, but it says Erin Go Bra, and I did trim it to a banner size. So I'm just going to use some green ink real fast here and ink those edges. I'm going to use my same little dowel here to kind of curl that around. Oops, I'm out of frame, apologize. Curl that around in a couple of different directions, kind of like a flag would be waving on a pole. And then I'm going to use some glue dots and attach that there to my pot of gold. So I hope you enjoyed this project. Again, be sure and use the contact form on my website to send me your snail mail address, and I'll happily send you a 4x6 piece of this gold vinyl. And hope you'll join my team for the March 8th challenge. We're going to have a St. Patrick's Day themed challenge, and I hope many of you will get your St. Patrick's Day projects ready to go and share them with us. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.